Hello friends, previous slide we discussed that political outcomes of democracy in the part 1. Today we are going to discuss part 2, the chapter outcomes of democracy, economic outcomes of democracy in part 2. So what are the major key features present in the economic outcomes? How the democracy is going to helpful to economic development? Then what were the worries about the not achieving, what we are not achieving, worries about which are not have development, and comparing with the dictatorship and democracy, how the economically dictatorship it is better than democratic government, why it is faster growth compared to the democracy. The factors influencing the development, what were the major factors influencing the economic development? There is a population size or some other. Economic priorities of the policies of the government. These are the major key points we need to discuss. There is a one question which is given in the 2012 and 16. Establish the relationship between democracy and development. What is the relation between the democracy and development, economic development? What are economic outcomes? The relationship between democracy and development. Before going to discuss that, I have one doubt and question. So if you consider all the democracies and all dictatorship for the 50 years between the 1950 to 2000, the dictatorship government have slightly higher rate of economic growth compared to the democracy. Economic development depends on several factors. What are the major factors? Let me discuss the factors which are affecting the economic development. Democracies are expected to produce economic development. Expected to produce. There is no compulsory mandatory. Only expectation. Right? And inability of democracy to achieve higher economic development is a matter of worry. Why it is worry? Because there are several factors which is influencing the development of the country, economic development of the country. That's why only this is expectation and worry of economic development. First factor is population size of the country. It is going to influence the economic development. The next, global situations in the country, international relations, value of currency or other country imports and exports, governments of other countries, how they are stable or not. These are situations will influence the one country's economic development. Then next cooperation from the other countries, economic priorities and policies of the government. What kind of? Next, economic priorities of the government policies. These are the major 4 issues which influence the development of country. The dictatorship is slightly better than democratic governments in the economic achievements, but it is better to prefer democracy because it has many other positive advantages. Why? Because if you go to the dictatorship, in other aspects like freedom of individuals, dignity of individuals, respect and mechanism is not available in the dictatorship government, non-democratic government. Even in the dictatorship government, why economic development is faster? Because they can take a decision quick and faster implementation. Coming to next topic, economic inequalities in democracy, reduction of inequalities and poverty. So is the government is efficient or not in the reduction of inequalities? If you observe that when a country achieves economic growth, will wealth be distributed in such a way that all citizens of the country will have a share and lead to the better life? No guarantee. Because some countries may be rich, highly rich. The income which is earned by the countries higher, which is going to distribute it equally or not? Because in economics first chapter, development chapter, there is a one statement which is given that when we are comparing the countries by the World Bank, highly rich and middle income countries, low income countries. Middle income, low income countries. In that area, the Middle East countries not comes under high income. Even their per capita income is equal to high income countries, because the countries' wealth is not distributed evenly. There is an uneven distribution of income in the Middle East countries. That's why. So we cannot justify the countries which are wealthy but not leading the better life of the people. Now, there is that leads to ultra rich and ultra poor. Then bottom of the society, top of the society. Let me compare all these features with the example of Bangladesh country, right? South Africa countries and Brazil. Clear? So if you go to the detailed answer, economic growth in the dictatorship and accompanied by the inequalities among the people. Democracies are expected to reduce economic disparities. The democratic countries are expected to reduce economic disparities, but these should be just distribution of goods and opportunities, not wealth. But democracies are not able to provide economic justice to the people. So why it is so? Because if you go to that, democracies are based on the political equality. All individuals have equal weight in electing the representatives, and parallel to the process of bringing individuals into the political arena on equal footing. But in the economic aspect, these are not possible. So here we find growing economics inequalities with the some very rich and very poor, ultra rich, ultra poor. Presently we are seeing in the society there is a downtrodden people who are poor become a poor, rich become rich. Let me discuss these reasons in the economics chapter later. A small number of ultra rich enjoying a highly disappropriate share of the wealth. Ultra rich, like businessmen. The majority of the wealth is enjoyed by the minority number of people. Then majority people are enjoying only less amount of income. So these are the bottom of the society, the people who are living at bottom, very little depend upon their income declining. Sometimes they find to difficulty to meet their basic needs. This is what called below poverty line. Food, clothing and shelter, BOP, BPL card holders, below poverty line. The political parties do not appear keen to address these issues, mainly poverty. They are not going to address with properly. That's why there is a ultra rich and ultra poor are increasing in the society. Example, Bangladesh. More than half of the people are living in the poverty line. But in first chapter economics, the Bangladesh's better human development index ranking than India in table. It is also true that several poor countries are dependent upon the rich countries for food supply. Most of the surrounding of India countries like Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Pakistan, Afghanistan mostly depend upon India for their basic needs. For example, South Africa, Brazil, the top 20% of the people share more than 60% the national income, and the bottom 20% people share less than 3% in the national income. This is what the ultra rich, ultra poor. Economic development is not highly expected in the democracy compared to dictatorship. So in next class, let me discuss about social outcomes of democracy, part 3. Thank you.